Oh, wow. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm just going to quickly start off again, but I won't spend too long. Um, what we said is that if you do an 18, if you do a 16-hour fast, right, all you get is some ketones. So you start to burn a bit of fat instead of sugar. And we had said that the difference between a sugar burner and a fat burner is the fact that you're burning off more than what you're eating in the day, right? Some people eat so much that they don't get the benefits, of dipping into their fat store. So the fat store remains there, right? And you're just burning off the sugar for today, which is not good for anybody. So once you start an 18-hour fast, that is stopping eating at 8 o'clock and starting eating again at 12 noon, you're going to be maintaining your weight. However, you would have started the process of dipping into your fat store. You would have started the process of autophagy, which I explained is cellular cleanup. We're made of cells, and each cell, right, has all its components inside that cell and excretes into that cell, okay? Now, when you start cellular cleanup, right, and the cells are forced to eat themselves because they're not getting any more food from outside, right? They start by eating up the excrement in the cell. And so that's why we call it a cellular cleanup. This is, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of it, but it's a buzzword. It sounds like, oh, the new buzzword in town. It's because somebody recently got a Nobel Prize for this, okay? It helps to, this 16-hour fast, it improves insulin sensitivity. And so it lowers blood sugar and reduces your diabetic risk. So the truth is that if they say that you are, about to be diabetic, okay, pre-diabetic, if you do this, you're just staying on the verge of it. You're not crossing over. However, 16-hour fasts are just sustainable, are just good for sustaining the weight where you are. And so when you've actually lost, or adjusted your weight downwards enough to the point where you want, it doesn't mean that you can go back to eating when you wake up first thing, first thing at 8 o'clock you start to eat. You still have to continue to fast. Okay, so we were going to look at the 18 to 20 hours of fasting when I realized I hadn't started recording and I had to just do a very quick overview of what we had done. Okay, so what are the key benefits? Clearly, you get deeper into ketosis. And what ketosis is that you're beginning to dip more into your fat cells. Okay, you're not just burning sugar. I hope you can understand it, right? And this boosts, a hormone called HGH, which, it supports muscle prevention and ensures more fat loss. Now, the reason we're talking about muscle preservation or muscle retention is the fact that whenever we start to lose weight, if we're not careful, right, we may be losing muscle and not fat. Now, if you lose muscle, it is detrimental to your health because it is muscle that holds us together. We all know what muscle is. It is what actually holds us together. And if we don't have enough of muscle, then our bones begin to sag. And then, it's easy for you to break a leg. It's easy for you to put your knee out of joint. It's easy for you to start to ache, I just find it difficult to move around. And so it's your muscle that holds you standing upright. And so we don't want to lose muscle. This is just an aside. This is one of the problems of Ozempic and all these drugs. They actually do, they will help people lose weight, but a lot of the weight they're losing is muscle also. And so it's important to try and keep your muscles. So when you fast 18 to 20 hours, you're producing a hormone that helps you to keep your muscle, okay, to preserve your muscle. and helps you to lose fat, which is what it is you want to do. Which is why I've been saying that if you just have a regular set of scales, you are doing yourself a disservice. You must buy yourself combination body composition scales that will tell you how much muscle you have, how much fat you have. So you know when you are losing more muscle than fat, okay? And when you're doing the 18 to 20-hour window of fasting, your autophagy is stronger. You're able to clean, you're able to clean your cells even more because they're having to eat themselves even more because they desire, food and they're not getting it from what we normally eat, right? So this helps with fat loss. This kind of hours, 18 to 20 hours. So what is it? That would mean 2, okay, eating from maybe 2, right, for a window of 2 or 3 hours. So you eat at 2 and by 5, really, you've stopped eating. And even when we say eat at 2 and stop eating at 5, we don't mean that you graze throughout. What I would suggest is that if you are trying to adjust your weight downwards, have 2 medium or 2 small meals. But if you're going to have 2 meals, okay, ensure that your first meal is bigger than the second meal, okay? As we continue our discussions and our talks over the next few weeks, you're going to understand why it's better to have your bigger meal first and then a smaller, lighter meal later, okay? Now, if you're doing a 24-hour fast, right, the key benefits, cellular repair, because it really heightens autophagy, right? There's some other things it does, but I'm not going to start to say that here because it'll need a lot of explanation, okay? So your cells become squeaky clean. And that's when people start to look at you and say, what are you doing? You're looking so nice. You're looking so fresh. You're looking so beautiful. I'm sure those who have done this, realize it. Now, let me tell you what happens in a typical Christian fast. The Christian will not eat till 6, but it's not a 24-hour fast because they will now eat from that 6 till midnight when they sleep. But for the people who do it properly, who they break the fast at 6 o'clock, they have 1 meal and they drink water and they move on. People will just be saying, oh, you're looking beautiful. What's happening? What are you doing to yourself? What are you doing that you're not telling us? And then with a 24-hour fast, you have mental clarity. Sometimes there's so much going on that, that's when you begin to say, where did I put my glasses? And you're wearing them. You begin to get mental fog. You can't remember somebody's name. You're trying to say something and you can't quite remember, but you know what you're trying to say, but you can't say it. There's mental fog. But when you do a clean 24-hour fast, okay, you're going to find out that mental clarity returns, okay? It reduces inflammation. So let me tell you, as we get older, okay, many people find it difficult getting out of bed. That used to be me, actually. I mean, there was a time that I'll make so much noises turning over in bed. My husband will be like, what's happening? You're not that old, It's inflammation. Inflammation from stress. So we're in pain, all kinds of pain. Sometimes people justify it. They say, oh, it's arthritis, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. But whatever it is, right, it's inflammation. It is pain. And for whatever reason, okay, instead of popping pain medication, you can actually do a 24-hour fast. And that will help you, with reducing inflammation. And I mean, we're going to see what happens, okay? It helps to reset metabolism. Now, metabolism is the rate at which we burn fat or we burn sugar or we burn our food up. Now, sometimes for various reasons, metabolism slows down. Sometimes too much dieting makes metabolism to slow down. But if you want to refire your metabolism in 24, not just one day's 24-hour fast, but, do it back to back for a few days and you will see the benefits of resetting your metabolism mental clarity improved, deeper autophagy, and of course, this also helps with weight adjustment downwards. Now, we haven't finished. If you do a 36 to 48 hour fast, okay, I do this with a lot of my clients. You find out that you start what is called stem cell regeneration. Now, stem cell is, to do with your immune system, making it stronger. I mean, we've all watched films or heard about stem cells, about how they use, newborn babies, placenta, and all of that. Well, as if there's an old-born baby with placenta. But, it's like, they use the placenta to try and get stem cells and all of that. But do you know that you can form your own stem and renew your own stem cells? Okay. Okay, sorry. I was just going to mute whoever was talking. Okay. I'm amused. I'm just seeing the numbers, and there are only 21 people. I know that maybe I didn't advertise it enough, but I bet you if I had put in there that there's an easy way to make $1 billion, even in 2 hours, I would have quite a lot of people watching. Anyway, don't let me say that. Maybe that's not true. But, it makes me feel that we don't prioritize our health and wellness as we should. Many people think health and wellness is about looking good, but I'm sure you're hearing now about how it heals. It removes inflammation, okay? It increases your clarity, your mental clarity. You can form stem cells that will heal you. There's so many people who've healed themselves, even of autoimmune diseases, of cancer, of all kinds of things, just from fasting, right? It detoxifies. Sometimes people will say, I'm detoxifying, so I'm doing 5 days of certain types of juices. That isn't enough to detoxify. I mean, there's been deep misuse, and something is, really toxic. And you think by washing it over with different juices for 5 days is going to detoxify it. No, it may clean it a little, but it needs deep detoxification. 36 to 48 hours of fasting will do that for you, okay? But of course, you have to watch what you do, You may have to have been building up on your electrolytes before you start such a fast. And whenever you break it, you don't just go break it and go and eat rice or eat something heavy. You have to break it gently, which also extends the fast, because then you are not, you're not injuring your digestive system. Because if it's clean and there's nothing in there, and then you go and stuff it with even the worst of foods like rice and bread and something quick, then you are actually going to feel a lot of pain. Okay, we haven't finished. 72 hours plus extended fast. I know that it sounds ridiculous, but we can all do it. And we should all do it from time to time. 72 hours of not eating, okay? Obviously, your stem cells are activated. Regeneration of new immune system, okay? Your stem cells, the ones that are dying, are reactivated and new ones are formed. Cancer risk reduction, because what happens is that cancers feed on sugar. And when I say sugar, I don't mean only the white sugar. I mean what our body turns carbohydrates into. Cancer feeds on that. If you starve it, right? I'm not saying that, don't go to your doctor, no. But if you starve it, then you're working 2 ways. You're working 2 ways with the medication and with the lifestyle to ensure that this thing does not catch fire, okay? Of course, if we don't have all of these things, you are going to live longer. So, it says that, longevity is one of the things that you get. Now, like I said, you have to keep an eye on your muscle. So how do I ensure that I don't lose muscle? You exercise. And this is where exercise comes in. You do some strength training, right? You exercise, and that helps you to keep your muscle and to even build more, And that's why sometimes in these things you need a coach, who will help you to say, okay, this is what you need to be doing at this time. Because when you're on your own, sometimes we're so excited, I'm losing weight, but what you're actually losing is muscle tone, muscle mass and muscle tone, okay? You have to be careful that you're eating nutrient. In fact, it's difficult to fast if you are not eating nutrient-dense foods when you do eat, because you're going to feel so hungry if all you eat is, all the carbs of this world, right? But even if that's what you eat, it might be a bit painful, right? But you should still fast. Now, what happens if you're new to fasting? When you're new to fasting, you do what we call jonesing. It's like withdrawal symptoms, like you've been, what's it called? Carbs are like, what do you call them now? They're like opioids, they're like drugs. And when you stop it, especially when you stop it suddenly, okay, you can get a headache, what we call the keto flu. You can get a headache, you can feel like you have the flu, your bones are aching, just like when a drug addict has withdrawal symptoms. Okay, so when you start to fast, you can expect that will happen. But some people, their intake of carbohydrates, even though they are overweight, right, it's not that much for them to, have that. But the truth is that lasts just 2 or 3 days and you power through it, I know that this is a very brief talk, but honestly, if you can power through the fasting, the benefits are wild. I used to have aches and pains, and then they would say to you, oh, your grandfather had arthritis. So no, it's actually not that. I keep saying it, that genetics is a loaded gun, but lifestyle is, it's up to you to shoot that gun. When you change your lifestyle from what your ancestors had, you will not have what they had. Okay? Any questions? And I've already given you some tips about. Now, of course, not everybody should fast. If you're pregnant, please, I beg you, don't fast, And, if you are chronically ill, don't just jump into the fasting, speak to your doctor who may say, don't do it, oh, but even if you want to do it, don't just wake up one day and do a 72-hour fast, begin to do it little by little. If you wake up and you're used to eating breakfast at 9, begin to push it a bit so that you can eat breakfast later, okay? Many people, when you've been out fighting lions, you just want to come home in the evening and have something nice to eat. And that's why it's difficult when we say, stop eating early evening, even before early evening, because, you have hormones that you want to rely on to make you feel happy, to give you some joy, right? Okay. Okay. Has this been okay? Has this been good? It's just been like 20 minutes or something. Have you learned anything? Do you understand fasting? Because sometimes, my daughter was analyzing it, that the last born always wants to know why. Because you can't just tell me to fast. I want to know, why am I fasting, by the way? And so when people were laughing and saying, oh, Redeemed is doing 100-day fast, oh, how silly. I wanted to say, you are the ones who are silly, because, they're going to come out healthy if they do it right. However, if you do not fast right, and then you stop the fasting and go straight to how you were eating before, you're going to put on a ton of weight. You're going to adjust your weight upwards. Okay? Somebody says that if you have gastric issues, these are variable to fast. I don't know what you mean by gastric issues. Let me tell you 2 or 3 issues. You can have what they used to call ulcers, but now they've discovered that is caused by a bug called H. pylori. So you need to go and check that out to say, is it H. pylori I have? If it is H. pylori I have, you'll take medication and you'll be fine. Now, if you have acid reflux, what causes acid reflux is that you don't have enough acid in your stomach. The acid in our stomach is so concentrated, if it poured on our hands, it will burn our hands. But we need it in the stomach to help with our digestion and to ensure that the glottis, the neck of the stomach, closes properly, you know. If it doesn't, if you don't have enough acid, right, it's going to be opening intermittently. And when it opens, the little acid that is there will come up. And because it is so concentrated, it'll burn up and it'll be like, oh, I have acid reflux. If you take a vinegar, like an apple cider vinegar religiously, right, you will find out that you are helping the consistency of your stomach to be as acidic as it should be. Now, there are things like leaky gut and all of that. Fasting helps that because a lot of times leaky gut is because of the lifestyle, okay? Some people are stuck and they say, oh, I always have diarrhea, or I always have, if it is not something major like colon cancer, your lifestyle will heal those things if you ensure. So what you want to do is that if you say you have these gastric issues, begin to fast. Don't just start up one day and do 72 hours, okay? Begin to do it bit by bit and push the hour and push. So it means you have to live deliberately. That is what it is about lifestyle. You can't just do anything anyhow because you are going to be shocked. Let me make you laugh. I remember once, you know, I decided that, you know, I would stop wearing smart clothes. Everybody was wearing boo-boos. And I thought, okay, I'll wear boo-boos. And then, you know, before I knew it, I'd be like, Joe, I can't wear anything that is snug. I can't. Do you know that after a few months, I traveled and I wanted to buy clothes. None of my clothes fit me. And I didn't realize that I was putting on weight. You know, it didn't come with a label. I didn't look in the mirror and say, oh, okay, you've put on weight. You know, I just found out that I couldn't wear my clothes. And so these things sneak up on us. And that is why we have to be consistent. But, you know, I always say also that it's really not about how you look, because everybody and anybody can look really good. It doesn't matter your size, okay? What is important is you feel well. This whole thing we're talking about, if you see the emphasis, the more hours was to wellness. It wasn't really about weight loss or weight gain. It was to wellness. If you want to live good quality life, right? Some people say, how will I know, you know, I've made money if I don't eat what I want? You can't eat what you want because a lot of what is out there to eat is not food. It's not what we should be eating at all. And then to be eating it in multiplications, you know. I've just got a new hobby now, and everybody at home is sort of really, you know, they're tired of me, you know. I've started going into all these seeds, you know, cardamom, flaxseed, you know, chia seeds. I used to do it, right? But I just go and buy the store that they've mixed it and whatever. But now I've actually bought them in different things, and I know that, okay, this does this does this. I'm going to eat this with this. I'm going to eat this with this, you know, just taking my nutrition to a higher level. Find, you know, being interested in what it is I am eating, not just eating everything and anything. You know, I hardly eat at parties because of what I eat is never at the parties. But, you know, once in a while I'll have fries or something at a party and my lip will start to sting, which tells me immediately that this oil, they've been using this oil. First of all, the oil, when it was fresh, was rubbish. And then they've been using it. You know, we're not supposed to use oil so much, but people will use it and use it and use it until the oil finishes. It's not about, you know, I was watching a video where they say put something inside the oil and it will look clean, but the oil is dead. Why are we making it look clean when it is dead? Any questions? Just so that any questions? Have you anything? I'm sure you've learned something. The internet today apparently is not the best. So my computer keeps telling me your internet is wobbly. Because taking chia seeds with about 12 p.m., not breaking our fast. It's breaking your fast. I didn't say anything about it not breaking.
Oh, Sheila. So do you want to
asking a question?
handle?
I want the, I have front door. I just want the back door.
I'm trying.
Uh,
Can you mute yourself? I don't know why I can't mute. We're conversation. the video. No, can't mute. Anyway, the chair seats, let me tell you what that will not break your heart. Mute Titi because my internet was not the best. Are you still here with me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear.
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can.
Yes.
This is much better.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me now? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. No problems at all, Titi. I couldn't mute you because my internet wasn't the best. So I was just saying before I went off that when you eat chair seeds, yes, you break a fast. But one thing you can eat that won't break your fast is avocado pear, because it is buttery, it's oil. And oil is the one thing you can eat that will not secrete insulin. If you eat anything else, whether it is a salad or it is chicken or whatever, that's secreting insulin. Okay? Can we drink water while fasting? Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can drink water. That's fine. And remember we've said that, water should be infused because if you're that person who says, oh, every time I drink water, I'm always rushing off to the loo, what that means is that your cells are not absorbing the water. And so you have to give your water some kind of consistency so that your cells will absorb it so it can be useful to your body. Any other question? Has this been good? I'm so sorry, the internet has been something else. But do you know what it was? I'm in my study and I'm using the internet in my bedroom, which is why I kept cutting out. What about unsweetened herbal teas? Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. You can drink unsweetened herbal teas. But what I find is that once anything that is tastes enters my mouth, I start to feel hungry. So you want to look at yourself and find out if that's you also. Some people, if they don't put anything in their mouth for 4 days, they'll be fine. But the minute they put anything that tastes like anything into their mouths, they can't stop eating, right? Yeah, very good session. Thank you so much, guys, for coming. So we'll meet again in 2 weeks' time. If you have any questions, let me know. I'm going to post when the next challenge is starting. Actually, the way we work it now, you can actually start a challenge every Monday. Any Monday you want to start it. Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming. Shalom, shalom, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good night, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.